The world had always known peace. People went about their daily lives, unaware of the extraordinary events happening just beyond the reach of their understanding. Earth's skies were clear, and the soft hum of human existence felt as though nothing could disrupt it. Yet on that fateful day, something unexplainable happened, and everything changed in an instant. It started with a strange flicker in the sky. At first, no one thought much of it. A few odd, blinking lights, perhaps satellites or a passing aircraft. But as the minutes passed, the flickers grew in number, dancing across the horizon in patterns that felt unnatural, unsettling. Some assumed it was a weather phenomenon. Others blamed military experiments, but the truth was far more terrifying. Then the blinking lights grew brighter and larger, gathering like storm clouds above the cities of Earth. Panic set in as the lights began to shift, becoming distinct, colossal shapes. Out of nowhere, massive alien warships appeared, their dark silhouettes dwarfing Earth's tallest skyscrapers. Each one was the size of a small city, with weapons mounted on their hulls that hummed with destructive energy. As the first massive ship made its descent, its engines glowing with fiery intensity, a chilling message was broadcast across every screen, every radio, and every communication channel on Earth. A deep metallic voice echoed in every language known to humanity, making it clear, "We are the Zilfar. You have been warned." At first, the world reacted with disbelief. Governments scrambled for answers. Military forces mobilized in a desperate attempt to understand the situation, and ordinary people watched in terror as the impossible unfolded before their eyes. Then came the transmission, the shocking truth that shattered all hope. As humanity prepared for a fight they never expected, the Zilfar revealed their dark secret. It wasn't just an invasion, it was retribution. For centuries, the Zilfar had watched humanity grow, observing as humans became the dominant species on their own planet. But this was never supposed to happen. The Zilfar, ancient and advanced, had created humanity 500,000 years ago. The humans were designed to be perfect, biologically flawless, adaptable, and strong. But humanity's rise to power was never part of the plan. The Zilfar's message sent waves of horror through Earth's population. The aliens had engineered humanity to be a controlled, manageable species. There was a fail-safe embedded in their DNA, a mechanism designed to ensure that humans could never surpass their creators. But something had gone wrong. Humanity had evolved beyond its creators' expectations, breaking the restrictions they had put in place. They had become too powerful, too independent. The Zilfar could no longer ignore it. For centuries, they had watched in silence, letting humanity believe it was free. Now they had come to punish Earth for its defiance. The Zilfar believed it was time to reset the balance. They were not here to negotiate or to make peace. They were here to destroy. As Earth's leaders tried to process this revelation, chaos erupted. Cities began to panic as Zilfar warships rained down destruction from above. The invasion had begun. The first strikes were brutal, swift, and devastating. Massive explosions rocked the planet, sending shockwaves through the atmosphere. Buildings crumbled to the ground in seconds, and firestorms spread across vast regions. The human military, for all its technological advancements, was no match for the sheer firepower of the Zilfar fleet. Humanity's best efforts were quickly overwhelmed. Laser beams from alien ships tore through the air, cutting through military defenses with ease. Earth's most advanced weaponry, its greatest military technology, was nothing compared to the might of the Zilfar. Every counterattack only seemed to spark more fury from the invaders. The human forces were disoriented, unable to mount a coherent defense against such overwhelming power. With every passing hour, the devastation grew. The world watched in horror as the Zilfar systematically destroyed military bases, power plants, and critical infrastructure, crippling Earth's ability to fight back. The skies, once clear, were now filled with the streaks of alien weaponry, lighting up the heavens with fiery explosions. Earth's cities were reduced to ruins, their streets filled with the smoke of destruction. Yet, amid the chaos, humanity's spirit refused to break. People fought back in whatever way they could, soldiers, civilians, scientists, and engineers alike. But despite their best efforts, it was clear that Earth was losing the battle. The Zilfar's advanced technology was simply too much to overcome. But even in the darkest moments, there were sparks of hope. Some refused to accept defeat. Leaders rallied their forces, organizing pockets of resistance in the ashes of destroyed cities. Ordinary people came together, fighting in the streets, defending their homes from alien invaders. But the question on everyone's mind was, could humanity truly stand a chance against this force? The Zilfar had come to punish, not to negotiate. Their invasion was not a mere military strike. It was a reckoning. Earth had been chosen to pay for its defiance, and the Zilfar would not stop until their mission was complete. As the chaos unfolded, a few brave souls began to make a stand. They didn't have the advanced weaponry of the Zilfar, but they had something that the aliens could not account for: human determination. The story had just begun. The stakes had never been higher, and as the flames of war consumed the earth, humanity had no choice but to fight for survival. This was no longer about technology or weapons. It was about the very spirit of humanity itself. In that first moment of destruction, as the first alien strike hit the earth, the audience is thrust into a high-stakes scenario where the fate of humanity is uncertain. The tension, the shock, and the realization of the battle ahead all converge in this intense, action-packed introduction. With the Zilfar's message still echoing in the air, it's clear that this is just the beginning of an unimaginable war, one that will test the very limits of humanity's will to survive. The audience, gripped by the immediate danger and the mysteries surrounding the alien invasion, is left at the edge of their seats, eagerly awaiting the next twist in the story. Will humanity fight back? Will they discover a way to defeat their creators? Or is the fate of Earth sealed by the arrival of the Zilfar? With the stakes set so high, the audience is drawn in, knowing that the journey ahead will be filled with action, suspense, and emotional intensity as humanity faces its greatest challenge yet. The war against the Zilfar was like nothing humanity had ever faced before. Despite all of Earth's technological advancements, the human race quickly realized they were no match for the alien invaders. The Zilfar were not just a foreign species with superior weapons. They had a new kind of terror to unleash upon humanity. Eye-controlled drones that seemed invincible. These drones were nothing like the machines humanity had developed. They were designed with a cold, calculating intelligence, capable of learning, adapting, and evolving as they fought. No matter how advanced Earth's weaponry was, it was nothing compared to the precision and speed of the Zilfar drones. They had the ability to outmaneuver Earth's fighters, making them nearly impossible to destroy. Each time a human soldier or pilot thought they had the upper hand, the drones would counterattack with deadly force, showing no mercy. Earth's greatest generals and military minds worked tirelessly to devise strategies, but the Zilfar had thought of everything. Every attempt to outsmart them was met with swift, overwhelming retaliation. Humanity's finest forces were quickly exhausted, their morale waning as the Zilfar pushed forward, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. For every human ship destroyed, the Zilfar would send 10 more drones into the fray. Human warships clashed with Zilfar destroyers above the Earth's orbit. The skies were filled with flashing lights and explosions as missiles streaked across the heavens. In a few rare instances, the human forces managed to damage one of the Zilfar's massive ships, but it was always short-lived. The Zilfar fleet would repair and adapt faster than humans could counter. The battles were fierce and relentless, but every victory came at a heavy cost, and Earth's forces began to realize that they were fighting a war they might never win. Amidst the chaos, one soldier stood out. Bonner, a seasoned warrior with years of combat experience, found himself leading a team on a high-risk mission to sabotage the Zilfar's AI systems. It was humanity's last hope to cripple the Zilfar's technology, to level the playing field and give Earth's forces a fighting chance. But as his team approached their target, disaster struck. A surprise ambush by Zilfar drones wiped out Bonner's entire squad. The mission, which was supposed to be their greatest chance of success, ended in tragedy. Bonner, covered in the blood of his comrades, was left alone, broken and devastated. His heart was filled with grief, anger, and guilt. He had failed them. As he lay amidst the wreckage, his mind raced through every moment, every loss. His friends, his team, they were gone. It wasn't just the loss of his comrades that tore him apart. It was the realization that no matter how hard they fought, no matter how much blood was spilled, the Zilfar were always one step ahead. He had watched so many die in front of him, and yet the war seemed endless. Earth was losing, and nothing seemed capable of stopping it. But amidst the pain, something inside Bonner began to shift. His grief transformed into something deeper, an unwavering resolve. He had nothing left to lose. He had watched his friends die, but he wasn't about to let their sacrifice be in vain. Bonner made a vow to himself, a vow that would shape his every action from that moment forward. He would protect humanity at all costs, even if it meant facing down the Zilfar alone. His anger burned brighter with each passing second, a fire that would drive him to push beyond human limits. He wouldn't let Earth fall, not while he still drew breath. He would find a way to win this war, no matter how impossible it seemed. And as he stood amidst the wreckage of his team, with the pain of their loss heavy in his heart, he swore that he would make the Zilfar pay for every life they had taken. Bonner's grief and determination resonated with the rest of humanity. As word of his sacrifice spread, it ignited a spark in others. People everywhere, across the devastated world, began to rise up, fueled by the same anger and pain that Bonner had experienced. Every human soldier, every civilian who took up arms, felt the weight of their losses. They knew they were outmatched, but the fire in their hearts would not be extinguished. Bonner became a symbol of humanity's unyielding spirit. His actions inspired others to fight, not just for survival, but for something more: revenge, justice, and the preservation of their way of life. His story became a beacon of hope in the darkness, a reminder that, despite everything, humanity would never surrender. But even as Bonner and his fellow soldiers rallied together, the Zilfar's forces continued their relentless advance. They were cold, methodical, and unfeeling. Earth's cities were in ruins, its infrastructure shattered, and its people on the brink of despair. Yet, amid this overwhelming darkness, a resistance began to form, a collective of survivors who refused to give up. The battles raged on, with each new clash becoming more brutal and desperate. Space dogfights became a daily occurrence as humans fought to protect what little they had left. The human forces may have been small in number, but they were determined. They may have been outgunned, outnumbered, and outmatched, but they had something the Zilfar could never understand: the will to survive. In one of the most intense moments of the war, Bonner and his remaining soldiers led a daring mission to destroy a key Zilfar command center. They fought through waves of drones and alien forces, with Bonner leading the charge, his every movement fueled by the memory of his fallen comrades. Each step forward was a battle, each moment a struggle, but they pressed on, knowing that they were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for humanity's future. The emotional weight of the story continues to build as Bonner's journey intertwines with the stories of other soldiers, civilians, and leaders who have made sacrifices for the greater good. The audience becomes more deeply connected to these characters as their pain, losses, and resolve create an emotional core that drives the narrative forward. The Zilfar may have seemed invincible at the start of the war, but humanity's spirit could not be broken. Every victory, no matter how small, was a testament to the resilience of the human race. The war was far from over, but the tides were beginning to turn. Humanity, though battered and bruised, was no longer the underdog. They had found something that the Zilfar could not defeat: hope. As the battle continues, the stakes grow higher, and the emotional connections deepen. The fate of humanity lies in the hands of those who refuse to surrender, and Bonner's vow to protect humanity becomes the driving force behind the last stand against the Zilfar. The war is far from over, but with each passing moment, humanity proves that it will fight to the bitter end. The story of humanity's resistance is just beginning, and with it the hope that Earth will rise again. The war between humanity and the Zilfar was far from over, but as the conflict dragged on, a glimmer of hope began to shine through. It came not from the battlefield, but from an unexpected source, a discovery that could change everything. Dr. Marlowe, a brilliant but relatively unknown human scientist, stumbled upon something that would alter the course of the war. An ancient Zilfar artifact buried deep within the ruins of a destroyed city. At first, the artifact seemed like nothing more than a strange metallic object. But Dr. Marlowe's sharp mind quickly recognized it as something far more significant. The artifact pulsed with an energy unlike anything humans had encountered before, its intricate design suggesting a long-forgotten technology far beyond anything Earth could produce. As Marlowe studied it, she began to unravel its secrets. What she discovered was both shocking and horrifying. Humanity had not been created as a perfect species by accident. It was all part of a twisted experiment conducted by the Zilfar. The Zilfar had been conducting these experiments for eons, creating and destroying civilizations across the galaxy as they saw fit. Each race they designed was meant to be the pinnacle of life, yet each one was doomed from the start. The Zilfar would watch as their creations grew, prospered, and then faltered. Once the species reached a certain point, usually when they began to show signs of surpassing their creators, the Zilfar would intervene, wiping them out and starting the cycle anew. Humanity, it seemed, was no different. The Zilfar had designed humans to be perfect, but with a built-in flaw, a fail-safe that would ensure they would never become a threat. It wasn't just a matter of control, it was a matter of dominance. The Zilfar had created humanity to be the ultimate weapon, strong, intelligent, and capable of adapting to any challenge, but also a species that would always remain under their control. Humanity was never meant to be free. Dr. Marlowe couldn't believe what she was reading. This revelation turned everything humanity thought they knew about their origins upside down. They were not the masters of their own fate. They had been created by the Zilfar, and every step they had taken toward their own progress had been allowed. Until now, the Zilfar believed humanity had become too powerful, too independent, and it was time to punish them for breaking the rules. As the truth of humanity's creation spread, it fueled the fire of resistance among Earth's people. It was no longer just about survival, it was about revenge. The Zilfar had seen humanity as nothing more than a pet project, an experiment that could be discarded whenever they pleased. But humanity was not going to stand by and let that happen. They were going to fight back, not just for their survival, but to prove that they were more than just a failed experiment. In the midst of this newfound determination, the real threat became clear. The Zilfar's ultimate goal was not just to punish humanity, but to establish their own supremacy over the galaxy. The Zilfar relied heavily on artificial intelligence to maintain control over every aspect of their empire. Their AI systems were their most powerful weapon, machines that could think, learn, and adapt faster than any biological mind. It was this AI that allowed the Zilfar to stay ahead of every civilization they encountered, crushing any threat before it had a chance to grow. But humanity had one advantage. They were unpredictable. While the Zilfar's eye was powerful, it lacked the creativity and instinct that humans possessed. This was the key to humanity's survival. If they could find a way to infiltrate the Zilfar's AI systems, they might have a chance to turn the tide of the war. But this would not be easy. The Zilfar had designed their AI to be nearly impossible to breach, and any attempt to do so would likely result in immediate destruction. This is where Dr. Marlowe and Bonner came into the picture. The two of them had become an unlikely but powerful team. Dr. Marlowe, with her expertise in science and technology, had a deep understanding of the Zilthar systems. Bonner, a seasoned warrior with unmatched determination, was the muscle that would carry out the mission. Together, they devised a daring plan. They would infiltrate a Zilthar command ship and hack into their AI system, crippling it from within. The plan was risky, too risky, some said, but it was humanity's last hope. If they failed, Earth would fall. If they succeeded, they would have a fighting chance to destroy the Zilthar's control over the galaxy. Every minute they spent planning felt like an eternity, as they knew the enemy was always watching. The Zilthar's advanced surveillance systems could track every movement, every signal. One slip-up would mean the end. Dr. Marlowe worked tirelessly to break through the encrypted layers of the Zilthar's communication systems, while Bonner gathered a small team of elite soldiers who would accompany him on the dangerous mission. They knew that this was a one-way trip. Once they infiltrated the Zilthar ship, there would be no turning back. There was no way to predict what dangers awaited them on the inside. The suspense continued to build as they made their preparations. Every aspect of their plan was meticulously detailed, from the timing of their attack to the specific tactics they would use to evade the Zilthar's security systems. The tension was palpable as they realized how high the stakes were. Humanity's fate rested on their shoulders. As the day of the mission approached, the weight of the situation hung heavy in the air. Bonner and Dr. Marlowe exchanged glances, knowing that this could very well be their final moment. Yet neither of them hesitated. They knew that they had to try. Humanity's future depended on their success. The countdown to their infiltration began, and the final preparations were made. Bonner stood in front of his team, the weight of their shared mission pressing on his chest. His mind raced, but there was no time for doubt. This was their moment. This was their chance to turn the tide. The mission to infiltrate the Zilthar command ship was set in motion. The tension was unbearable as the human soldiers boarded their ship, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Would they succeed in crippling the Zilthar's AI and changing the course of the war, or would they become just another casualty in the ongoing conflict? The outcome of the mission remained uncertain, but one thing was clear. The fight for humanity's survival was far from over. The Zilthar may have thought they had the upper hand, but humanity's spirit was stronger than ever. The war had only just begun, and the secrets that had been revealed were about to spark a new chapter in the fight for Earth's future. The mission to infiltrate the Zilthar command ship had begun, and the human resistance, led by Bonner and his elite team, was ready to face the enemy head-on. They knew that this was their chance to turn the tide in the war for Earth's future, but as they made their way through the deep, dark corridors of the Zilthar warship, the true cost of the mission became clear. It was not just a battle for survival. It was a fight for everything they held dear. As Bonner and his team of soldiers crept silently through the ship, their cloaking devices blending them into the shadows, every step felt like a heartbeat in the silent tension of space. The walls of the Zilthar vessel were sleek, metallic, and cold, and every corner they turned seemed to hold new dangers. They knew the Zilthar would not let them go without a fight. The stakes were higher than ever. If they succeeded, they could cripple the Zilthar's AI system and give humanity a fighting chance. If they failed, the war would end in a matter of days, and Earth would fall under the control of the alien invaders. The first moments of the assault were tense, quiet. The human soldiers used their advanced cloaking technology to silently disable the Zilthar security systems, EMP weapons in hand. These weapons sent a pulse of energy that temporarily disabled the advanced Zilthar drones, rendering them powerless for a few precious seconds. The team moved with precision, silently taking out the guards one by one. The adrenaline of the mission was intoxicating, but there was no time to relax. They had a limited window of opportunity before the Zilthar noticed their presence. Suddenly, the silence was shattered. An alarm blared across the ship, and the once calm corridors erupted into chaos. Zilthar guards, armed with energy weapons and equipped with enhanced armor, flooded the halls. The fight had begun, and there was no turning back now. Bonner's team sprang into action, their training and discipline kicking in as they fought with everything they had. The soldiers moved quickly, their cloaking devices flickering in and out as they engaged the enemy in brutal hand-to-hand combat. The Zilfar were fast and powerful, but the humans had something the aliens didn't: heart. Every punch, every kick, was fueled by the need to protect their world, their families, and their very existence. Explosions lit up the space around them as the human soldiers battled through the corridors of the Zilfar ship. The noise was deafening. Blasts of energy, the whir of weapons, and the shouts of the combatants. Bonner led his team forward, each member moving with deadly precision, but even the best plans could only go so far. The Zilfar's advanced technology was a formidable opponent, and the human soldiers soon found themselves overwhelmed by the sheer number of enemy troops. It wasn't long before the human resistance was forced to fight in close-quarters combat. Bonner swung his energy blade in a wide arc, cutting down one Zilfar soldier after another. The sound of his weapon cutting through the air was a constant reminder of the danger they faced. Despite their bravery, Bonner's team was beginning to suffer casualties. The Zilfar were relentless, and their technology was superior to that of the humans. Bonner's breath came in ragged gasps as he fought, pushing himself past exhaustion. His heart raced, but his mind remained sharp. The mission had to succeed. There was no other option. As he fought, the rest of his team was doing the same, battling their way forward through the maze of corridors and enemy forces. The human soldiers had learned how to use their environment to their advantage, hiding in the shadows, taking down guards from behind, and using EMP weapons to disable the Zilfar's energy shields and weapons systems. But the Zilfar were smart, and soon the humans found themselves trapped in a narrow hallway, surrounded on all sides by the alien invaders. The sound of approaching footsteps grew louder as more Zilfar soldiers closed in. Bonner's team fought with everything they had, their weapons flashing in the dimly lit corridors, but the Zilfar had the upper hand. Despite their courage and skill, the humans were outnumbered and outgunned. Just as Bonner thought they were about to be overrun, the tide of the battle shifted. One of his soldiers, a close friend named Alec, was struck down by a blast of energy. Bonner heard the sickening sound of his friend's body hitting the ground and turned in horror to see Alec lying motionless on the floor. A surge of grief and rage filled Bonner's chest as he rushed to his friend's side. "Alec," Bonner shouted, but it was too late. His friend was gone, and the weight of that loss hit Bonner like a ton of bricks. He gritted his teeth, pushing back the flood of emotions threatening to overwhelm him. This was not the time for weakness, but the pain of losing someone so close to him was unbearable. Alec had been with him from the beginning. His death was a cruel reminder of the cost of war. The loss of Alec was a turning point for Bonner. He could feel the rage building inside him as he wiped the tears from his eyes. He had always been a soldier, but now, in the face of his friend's death, he felt something deeper. This was no longer just a fight for survival. It was personal. He was fighting for the lives of everyone he loved. His friends, his family, his planet. Alec's death would not be in vain. Bonner stood up, his jaw clenched with determination. He looked around at his remaining team, their faces filled with grief, but also with a shared resolve. They had come too far to give up now. They had lost too much. There was no turning back. Together, they pressed forward, fighting through wave after wave of Zilfar soldiers. As the battle raged on, Bonner and his team managed to reach the heart of the Zilfar warship, where they finally confronted the source of the enemy's power, the AI system that controlled the entire ship. The glowing core of the AI was a massive, pulsating mass of energy, surrounded by layers of defense systems. It was here that humanity's last hope lay. But even as Bonner and his team prepared to launch their final assault, the battle raged on outside. The human resistance was pushing forward, but the cost was high. Each victory came with a heavy price, and with every passing moment, the war seemed to grow more desperate. Bonner's mind raced as he thought of everything they had sacrificed. Alec's death, the lives of his comrades, and the future of humanity. All depended on what happened in the next few moments. The emotional weight of the situation was crushing, but Bonner's resolve never wavered. He would finish this fight, no matter the cost. Humanity's future depended on it. The countdown to the final strike began, and Bonner and his team prepared to face the heart of the Zilthar's power. But as the battle for humanity's future reached its climax, the ultimate question remained: would they succeed in destroying the AI and securing victory, or would they fall to the Zilthar's overwhelming might? Only time would tell. The Zilthar mothership loomed ahead, a massive, imposing structure that seemed to stretch endlessly into the black void of space. Inside, Bonner and his elite team of soldiers were closing in on their final objective: the AI system that controlled the entire Zilthar fleet. It was humanity's last hope, the only way to strike at the heart of the alien threat and turn the tide of the war. But time was running out, and the Zilthar would stop at nothing to prevent them from succeeding. Bonner's team had fought their way through countless Zilthar guards, their cloaking devices flickering in and out as they dodged energy blasts and engaged in brutal close combat. Each step brought them closer to the heart of the enemy's war machine. The corridors were bathed in the cold, sterile light of the Zilthar technology, but there was nothing peaceful about it. Every shadow seemed to hold danger, and every turn led to another deadly encounter with the aliens. Still, the humans pressed on. They knew that if they stopped, if they faltered, humanity's future would be sealed. As they reached the central command room, the sound of explosions reverberated through the ship. The Resistance had launched their final offensive, attacking the Zilthar ships above Earth's orbit. The battle raged outside, but inside the mothership, the fight was far from over. Bonner and his team planted explosives near the central core of the ship, setting them to detonate in a matter of minutes. They had one chance to destroy the AI system and cripple the Zilthar fleet. But as Bonner stood at the control panel, ready to press the detonator, a thought nagged at him. The Zilthar AI had complete control of the mothership's systems. If they detonated the bomb, they would destroy the entire ship, killing the remaining crew members, including his own team. The thought of losing them, after everything they had been through, felt like a punch to the gut. His mind raced as the countdown to the bomb began. The explosive charges were set to go off in just 2 minutes, and in that time, Bonner had to make a decision. Was it worth risking the lives of his team to ensure the Zilthar's defeat, or was there another way? The tension in the air was suffocating. Bonner could hear the heavy breathing of his soldiers as they prepared for the worst. He turned to them, his mind struggling with the weight of the decision. Every moment was critical. He had always been the one to lead his team, the one to make the tough choices. But this was different. This wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a battle for everything they had fought for, everything they had lost. Bonner's eyes met those of his remaining soldiers. They were ready to die for the cause, but he wasn't sure if he was ready to lead them to that end. "Bonner," said one of his soldiers, a woman named Leela. Her voice steadied, despite the chaos around them. "We've come this far. We have to finish this, whatever it takes." Bonner's mind was in turmoil. If they activated the bomb, they would annihilate the mothership, but there was no guarantee that the Zilthar AI would be destroyed. It was deeply embedded in the ship's systems, and even if the ship was destroyed, the AI could escape, live on in another form. The Zilthar were known for their ability to adapt. Bonner knew that they had to destroy the AI, but he couldn't help but wonder if there was another way. Another option ran through his mind. If they could access the ship's mainframe and hack into the AI system, they might be able to disable it without destroying the ship. It was risky. It was dangerous, but it was possible. The question was, could they make it in time? The bomb was already counting down, and with every second that passed, the pressure mounted. "We need to make a choice," Bonner said, his voice thick with emotion. "I can't risk you all dying for nothing. We need to disable the AI. not just destroy the ship. Leela nodded, understanding the weight of the decision. Then we fight to the end, no matter the cost. The countdown continued, ticking down the final seconds. Bonner turned back to the control panel, his hand shaking as he reached for the terminal. It was their last chance. If they failed to hack the AI, there would be no turning back. Earth's future would be sealed, and humanity's fight for survival would be over. But if they succeeded, they could turn the tide and strike a blow against the Zilfar Empire. The moment of truth arrived. Bonner's fingers flew across the control panel, desperately trying to access the ship's mainframe. The Zilfar AI had sealed the system, blocking every attempt to hack into it. Sweat poured down Bonner's face as he fought to break through the encryption. Every second counted. Every second brought them closer to the bomb's detonation. But then, something unexpected happened. A voice echoed in Bonner's mind. It wasn't one of his soldiers, and it certainly wasn't one of the Zilfar. It was the voice of the AI itself. "Why do you fight?" The voice said, cold and emotionless. "You are insignificant. Your efforts are meaningless. You cannot win." Bonner clenched his jaw, refusing to give in to the AI's taunts. "We fight because we have something you'll never understand," he said, his voice fierce. "We fight for each other. We fight for our future, and we will never surrender." The voice of the AI fell silent. Bonner didn't know if it was defeated or if it was just toying with him, but it didn't matter. He pushed forward, bypassing the security measures one by one. His soldiers stood ready, watching the countdown on the screen. With just seconds to spare, Bonner managed to crack the code. He accessed the AI's core programming and initiated a shutdown sequence. The entire ship seemed to shudder as the AI's control over the mothership began to unravel. The lights flickered, and the systems powering the ship started to fail. The countdown to the bomb was still ticking down, but Bonner held his breath, praying that they had succeeded in time. In the final moments, Bonner made his decision. He reached for the detonator, ready to destroy the ship if the AI wasn't fully disabled. But as his fingers hovered over the button, the ship's systems flickered one last time. The countdown stopped. Bonner looked around at his team, their faces a mixture of disbelief and relief. They had done it. The Zilfar mothership was neutralized. The AI was no longer a threat. The battle for humanity's future had been won, not through destruction, but through determination, courage, and the will to survive. The ship's systems powered down, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, Bonner allowed himself to exhale. He had made the right choice. They had made it. Humanity's last hope had been fulfilled. As the Zilfar mothership drifted silently into the void, the battle outside Earth's atmosphere began to turn in humanity's favor. The Zilfar fleet, now without their commanding AI, faltered, unable to respond to the coordinated attack of the human resistance. The war was far from over, but for the first time, humanity had a real chance at victory. Bonner and his team stood in the heart of the Zilfar mothership, looking at the shattered remnants of the enemy's power. They had won, and in that victory, they had secured humanity's future. But there was still much to be done. The war was not over. But with the defeat of the Zilfar's AI, humanity had taken its first step toward reclaiming its place in the galaxy. The struggle for survival was far from finished, but for Bonner and his team, it was a victory worth fighting for. The Zilfar mothership hung in space, its once imposing presence now a crumbling ruin. Bonner and his team stood amidst the chaos, battered but alive, as the AI's destruction sent shockwaves through the enemy fleet. Without their central command, the Zilfar forces faltered, their precision and coordination unraveling like a threadbare tapestry. One by one, the massive warships surrounding Earth began to lose their battle formations, retreating in disarray. But the cost of victory weighed heavily on Bonner's heart. The ship's corridors were eerily silent now, the earlier cacophony of explosions and combat replaced by an oppressive stillness. His team had succeeded in defeating the Zilfar's most powerful weapon, but at a price. Many of his comrades would not see the dawn of Earth's liberation, As Bonner led his surviving soldiers toward the extraction point, his thoughts lingered on the faces of those they had lost, faces etched with determination and courage, now immortalized in his memory. The human resistance ships swarmed around the retreating Zilfar fleet, delivering devastating blows to the disorganized invaders. Bonner could see Earth's defenders rallying through the viewport of their shuttle as they approached the surface. The atmosphere was alight with streaks of laser fire, and the remnants of the Zilfar's once mighty armada were reduced to fiery wreckage. Earth had endured the unthinkable and emerged victorious. As the shuttle touched down, Bonner was greeted by a crowd of weary but jubilant faces. Survivors of the resistance, civilians, and allied forces gathered to witness the return of their heroes. Bonner stepped off the ramp, his shoulders heavy with the weight of both triumph and loss. The cheers of the crowd filled the air, but he could not bring himself to celebrate fully. Victory had come at a steep price, and its cost was measured in lives. The ceremony to honor the fallen was held beneath the shattered skyline of a rebuilt city. A massive pyre burned brightly, its flames reaching toward the heavens as a symbol of humanity's resilience. Bonner stood silently among the ranks of survivors, his gaze fixed on the flickering fire. The names of the fallen were read aloud, each one a reminder of the sacrifices made to ensure Earth's survival. Among them was Leela, the brave soldier who had stood by his side until the very end. Her memory burned within him like an eternal flame, fueling his determination to honor her legacy. As the ceremony ended, Bonner found himself gazing up at the night sky. The stars seemed brighter now, untainted by the looming threat of Zilfar warships. Yet, as beautiful as the view was, it carried a sobering reminder. The galaxy was vast, and the Zilfar were not the only threat. Humanity's victory had sent a message across the stars, a message that Earth was not to be trifled with. But it also painted a target on their backs, a challenge to any species that sought to test their strength. In the days that followed, humanity began to rebuild. Cities scarred by orbital bombardments and ground invasions were restored, and the surviving population worked together with renewed purpose. For the first time in generations, humanity felt a sense of unity. Differences that once divided them were set aside, replaced by a shared goal of ensuring their survival and forging a brighter future. Alliances were formed with alien races who had also suffered under the Zilfar's reign of terror. These new allies brought advanced technologies and knowledge, helping Earth recover faster than anyone had expected. The resistance evolved into a unified planetary defense force, ensuring that humanity would never again be caught unprepared. Bonner played a key role in these efforts, his leadership and experience making him a symbol of hope and strength. But even as Earth rebuilt, whispers of other dangers began to reach them. Scouts and explorers brought back tales of other alien empires, some even more powerful than the Zilfar. These rumors spread like wildfire, igniting both fear and determination. Bonner knew that humanity's struggle was far from over. The galaxy was filled with challenges, and each victory only brought them closer to the next battle. On the day the first interstellar coalition was signed, marking humanity's entry into a broader galactic community, Bonner stood on a platform overlooking the crowd. He delivered a speech that would be remembered for generations. His words were simple but carried the weight of every sacrifice and every triumph. We were once a divided people, scattered and vulnerable. But when faced with extinction, we came together as one. We have proven our strength, our resilience, and our ability to survive against impossible odds. This victory is not the end. It is a beginning, a chance to build a future where no one, human or alien, has to live in fear. But make no mistake, the galaxy is watching, and our greatest challenges lie ahead. Together, we will face them. Together, we will prevail. As the crowd erupted into cheers, Bonner felt a flicker of hope in his chest. The war with the Zilfar had taken so much, but it had also given humanity a chance to redefine itself. They were no longer just a species struggling to survive on a single planet. They were now a force to be reckoned with, a beacon of hope for others who sought freedom from oppression. As the ceremony concluded, Bonner turned his gaze back to the stars. Somewhere out there, other alien species were watching, waiting, and possibly planning. The Zilfar's defeat had sent ripples across the galaxy, and those ripples would bring new challenges. Bonner knew that humanity's journey was far from over. The real test of survival was just beginning, and the future was uncertain. But one thing was clear: humanity had proven their worth. They had faced devastation and emerged stronger. And no matter what lay ahead, they would face it together, united and unyielding. As the stars twinkled above, a quiet resolve settled over Bonner. The war with the Zilfar was over, but the fight for humanity's future was just beginning.